I had the honor of chatting with a phenomenal woman, and I promise you will love her energy and her vibrancy. This woman has opened so many doors and advocated for countless women in public leadership. She herself has served as a city manager as well as assistant city manager multiple times and therefore has a wealth of leadership experience. I think of her as a spark. She's a spark in creating programs like the Texas Women's Leadership Institute and Women in Government. And basically, she has dedicated her career and spent decades mentoring and lifting up the next generation of women leaders. Recently, very aptly awarded the ICMA's Distinguished Service Award for her role in raising women's representation in local government. And on top of all that, she is so passionate and finds great fulfillment volunteering for low-income persons and families with tax prep. It was such a privilege to have the following conversation with the esteemed and highly regarded Karen Daly. Please join me. This is the Charging Up Leadership Podcast, and I am your host, Heidi Fry. This podcast is all about energizing you from the inside out, inspiring you to plug in, light up, and just be the best version of yourself in how you live and lead. Welcome to the podcast, Karen. It was so great to see you today.
Thanks, Heidi.
Yeah, wonderful to have you. So I guess I'm going to start out with congratulating you on that fantastic award. I mean, the Distinguished Service Award from the ICMA for your advocacy work. Uh, what was that all about?
I was the seventh woman in ICMA's 104th history to actually get that award.
That's
Uh,
pretty darn
yeah,
amazing. Wow.
yeah,
And that's a nationwide award.
yeah. Technically international, but mostly national. People get
Oh,
it.
okay.
So, yeah.
So how did you get on their radar?
That was through my Resisterhood squad that I have. So
Okay.
they actually nominated me, led by Serena Breland. So they nominated me for that award and was put in consideration with a lot of other very deserving people. And there were ended up being five of us, and three were women. So for the first
Wow.
time ever,
That's
so it
really,
was
well,
really good.
congratulations. So
Thank
I
you,
would
thank
love to
you.
start, we're going to come back to that topic. I'd like to start actually here today. So you are currently retired.
Yes,
You are not beholden to anyone or any organization.
I
You
am
are
not.
free, lady. You are free. So
So
I
free.
am kind of curious. I know that you're the executive director for the Texas Leadership Institute. Uh, how has your leadership voice changed or your sense of self? Like what's going on, girl? Tell me.
Yeah, it has changed dramatically to the point I really don't give a flying anything anymore about what anyone thinks about what I say.
Mm.
I have loved it. It has been the most freeing kind of experience to go through when you're representing a city or a county or local government. You've really got to represent them. You don't really get to have your own voice very
Mm.
often. So, getting to reclaim my voice as I've left local government service has been absolutely the funnest thing I've done in a long time.
Awesome. So where have you seen that voice show up differently? Like what, because yes, I'm freer, I have my voice, but where have you been able to leverage it differently?
I really think it's with most of the class members that are in the Women's Leadership Institute. I tend to be much more open and candid with them.
Mm.
I'm also in their corner. I advocate for them all the time. And so you really get this sense of, look, I can tell you exactly how it's going to go or how it's going to be. And I
Wow.
don't have to mince words and I don't have to parse words. I really just let them hear it. Also, I have found because I'm not working, I tend to cuss a lot more. So apologies if I do that because, whoo, it has become one of the things that's like, wow, where did that come from? You know?
That's awesome. I love that. So, okay, I'm going to jump right to that. So you are a little more unfiltered now, right?
Yes, very.
So what back when you were, let's say, city manager, especially, What kind of game were you having to play?
It was, well, first, I was one of very few women in the state who were city managers in Texas. So other states have been much more progressive than Texas. But for us, I was one of the very few. And everything was like, oh, that woman city manager, the woman city manager. Well, I was ending up with my first gig. So my oldest daughter has Down syndrome. And I've always been her advocate. I've learned how to do that very successfully. And I know the rules and I know the laws and I read everything and I do it all. And they were about to put her in a school setting that was not appropriate for her.
Mm.
And so I argued with them about it. They said, we're doing it anyway. And I said, well, I'm going to sue you because I know my rights and I know what I can do. And then I had to go tell my city council, I'm a brand new city manager, first woman they've hired, da da da. And I said, well, I always told you that my family was first. And so I have to sue the school district because they're trying to put my daughter Emma in a place that is not appropriate for her. And they all went, you do what you've got to do for your family. And so I was always very grateful for that city
Mm.
council in
Mm.
doing that. And we ended up winning and prevailing. And then Emma's case actually became a precedent in Texas education system for 10 years. And so it was kind of a time for me to go, look, I know what is right and I know what I have to do. But then the school district couldn't talk about it because it was a lawsuit. And then I'd have strangers call City Hall. And this was before ID, phone ID. I mean, you couldn't see anything. They call and go, hey, are you really suing the school district? And I'd say, yes. Do you want me to tell you why? And because I could say why. And I would tell them and they go, huh, yeah, okay. And they'd hang up. So it was a really weird time, a very awkward time. I'm working with the superintendent. Yeah, I'm suing him. But we kind of left it in two different lanes or two different columns and just said, look, this is what's happening here. I was the chair of the fundraising committee at the middle school where my daughter was. I mean, I was invested in the school district. And to the point that I wanted them to do it right. I didn't want them to be doing it wrong. And so we ended up prevailing. And I think that whole piece of me having to juggle my city manager role, my mom role, and then my community involvement role was a good lesson in how I navigate three worlds that are all me, kind of thing.
That is inspirational. Honestly, that's just, I am curious though, if you're working with a superintendent over he in one of those lanes, why didn't he relent and see the logic of your argument in the other lane?
I think he really relied on some of his department professionals, and they were convinced that it was a classroom in a classroom, which is illegal. And I knew that, but it wasn't a classroom in a classroom. So, and one time I did try to talk to him. He goes, I really don't think we should talk about this, Karen. So he never wanted to enter into any kind of individual negotiation with me, which
Hmm.
was fair. I might let the system do it because there's state laws that protect special education and depict what you can do. So
Right.
we just let it. I just let it play out. Unfortunately, the day that the school board had to settle it and pay my attorney, I was sitting in the audience presenting on our leadership project for the community. So it just got more, the whole thing was awkward. I mean, the whole process was awkward. But in the end, I still talked to him afterwards. Actually, when I became fun employed, as I call it, when my contract was finished there,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
volunteered in the math lab every day from 8:30 to 10. And then I
Yeah,
went and had
that's
lunch with
great.
colleagues. Yeah, so, no hard feelings, just, it's the way it goes.
Business as usual. Well,
Yeah.
and when I was thinking about this conversation, I was chuckling to myself, not chuckling, but like my eyes were really wide because you're a woman in a male dominated field. And then there's what you already mentioned, there's a city council. And so you
Yeah,
have all these different bosses slash personalities. You're working for the public. There are gender dynamics happening. There's influence versus title. Uh, I have to imagine you are being watched or judged differently than the average city manager. Did you feel that?
absolutely. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Always. I mean, I went to the post office to change my address, my driver's license office, changed my driver's license when I moved to one of my cities. And the woman at the front says, "Look, here's that woman they hired as a city manager." And you're like, seriously, I can't even just change my license without being, pointed out that I'm a woman that they've hired. And I have all through the years, so many times, I can't believe they hired a woman, and I'm like,
So you weren't, so she didn't celebrate you in that moment. She pointed a finger.
well, she pointed, but then she did celebrate. She
Oh,
was
okay.
happy. They were, most times the women are pretty happy about it. Sometimes I
Mhm.
find it's the others or the institutions that you're walking into that have been in this misogynistic kind of environment forever. And so it's like, wow, I've never had a woman boss, kind of thing. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
you better get used to it.
So I'm curious because as you know, I do the 1650 program here in Michigan,
hmm
and where I find times when we women are just being women, but because we're different, we're wired differently than men, we get in our own way because of how the world works. And so that's no one's fault. It's no one's fault. But there is something about awareness in mitigating some of those challenges, right? So, do you remember any particular instance or dynamic where you got in your own way?
I tend to have not done that. I watch and I coach a lot of women who are doing that to themselves,
Yeah.
but I have always been this fair. I have a fairness about me and a sense of everyone needs to be treated fairly. I wouldn't call it social justice. I think it's a very different thing.
Hmm.
And so I don't think I even noticed when early in my career how much I was the only female around. And I just kept thinking, I can do that. I can do
Yeah.
that. And I
Yeah.
can do that. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go get that. I'm going to go get my master's. I'm going to go do that. I'm going to run a city. And I didn't think about the fact that there weren't that many women doing it. So maybe I was just oblivious, happily, blissfully oblivious.
Well,
But I
no, no,
also
no.
think that,
You have a good
yeah,
point because I know that it didn't really come to my awareness until later as well because people would say, "Oh, this is happening." It's like, "Is it?" Because I was just doing the thing, you
yeah.
know?
But I remember one time we were sitting at a lunch of city managers, or it might have been a happy hour. That's probably more appropriate. Uh, but I was going for this job, and one of the very esteemed, venerable managers in the area said, "Well, I hope so and so gets it," and because he needs it. And I'm sitting there thinking, why does he need it? I'm the breadwinner for my family. My husband was a stay-at-home dad, musician, which both is kind of weird. But I was the breadwinner, and I'm like, I need the job too. And I was
Yeah.
at that time, there were 100 applicants, and I was the only female um, in that, and I got the job. So
Amen. Yay, yay
yeah,
for you. And I'll say that that isn't the first time I've heard that rationale. Like he's got a
yeah,
family to support, therefore. I had a friend who they got a ginormous house and it was more based on the bonus that she just got in her job. And when they met the neighbors were like, wow, this house, like amazing, like, wow, you're so young. And they looked at him and they said, what is it that you do that you can afford this?
yeah,
And it was like, I married her.
yeah. And my husband would do that when we were buying a car. If it was my car, if the salesperson started talking to him, he's like, "It's not my car. You need to talk to her." And it would flip it over. And one time we walked away from a dealership because they
Yeah,
just wouldn't like
yeah,
talk to me. And I was buying all the cars. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I get that. So I often see leaders, especially early in their careers, where they're really not, and you're already alluding to it with your voice, right? They're not really able to fully be themselves. And I find that they're more in survival leadership than actually their natural, authentic leadership. And I'm guessing that resonates with you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you worry so much about just being what they want you to be,
Hmm.
and not who you are. I remember one time I was interviewing and I thought the interview was going great. I talked to my boss and he's like, Karen, tell them about your family. Do not talk about your family. And I'm like, I have to talk about my family because, I'm a mom and, guys don't have to do that, but women actually have to do that usually if they're going to hire you as the chief executive.
Sure, sure.
So I'm sitting there talking and the mayor just goes, tell us about your family. Not a question, you know. Uh, so, so I did, and I mean, I went totally against my boss, who was supporting me in this effort, but I went totally against his advice and talked about my family. And then the only follow-up question they said was, "Well, what kind of music does your husband play?" And I thought, well, damn it, this is going to ruin my interview. I'm never going to get this job because they're not going to like the genre of music that he plays. And so I thought, golly, so I just went rock and roll and just left it. And they all went, no reaction. So I'm like, oh,
Did you get that job?
I did. I
Okay.
did.
Well, all right. So, when did you notice the shift in yourself? Like, when did you notice your authenticity? And I don't want to, people often misunderstand that word to be I'm lying or I'm not lying, but
hmm
it's not. It's being your true self. And I know where you are today. So I'm looking for that space
Yeah.
somewhere during your career. When did you shift?
I think it really happened when my daughter with Down syndrome was born. I think I really shifted then. I was kind of like, pretty normal, like, yes, yes. But then I learned, oh no, I've got to have a little fighting. My fighting spirit needs to show up and show up in a lot of good ways for
Mm.
people. And so that worked. It benefited a lot of populations. And the other part of my, weird world is I play soccer. And that has also given me opportunities to find people who aren't treated fairly.
Mm.
And so
Wait, what does
that's
that mean? Wait. What does that mean?
so I was playing indoor soccer in Longview, Texas. I usually didn't like to tell people what I did for a
Mm.
living because then, I don't know. Because I'm actually pretty aggressive and mean on the soccer field sometimes. So, I don't want that to reflect badly on my job. But no, in this case, I was with an all Spanish speaking women's team. And so my Spanish became extremely coarse and not polite anymore. But they finally one night they were telling me that they can't get the community center that the city runs. They couldn't get it for their quinceañeras, for their daughter's quinceañeras.
Mm.
And I'm like, well, why is that? And they go, we try a year out, a year to the day. We try to get it, and she always says it's booked. And I went, that's interesting. I said, so give me some dates that you're looking at. I want to see I want to check it. So they gave me like 3 dates, a year out. And so I called when I got back to work the next morning. I said, hey, just check it on these dates to see if they're available. They'd already asked for all those dates. And she goes, yeah, sure, Karen. Do you want me to put you down for one of them? And I went, I'll get back to you on that. Um, and I realized she didn't want to book quinceañeras um, at
Wow.
our at the public facility. So we went through a whole process, and she no longer worked there, and I got invited to the quinceañeras.
Was it fun?
Yes, it was a ton of fun. They're always fun.
No, that's great. That's great. Well, I remember hearing something on a podcast, and I honestly thought you were going to talk about there was a monument named after you. Can you tell that story?
Yeah, that's another soccer story.
Well, that's
So
what made
my
me think of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so my parks director in another city I was in he built the most beautiful sports complex, and it was there when I got there, and it had the most gorgeous soccer field on. I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. And then I find out that there's a Hispanic men's league that wants to play there, and he won't let them play.
Mm.
And so they came to me and said, here's the deal. He won't let us play there. And I said, why not? He says, well, he says that we'll tear it up. And I went, okay. I said, so what we all do? What's your response? And so we set up a whole like contract and agreement that they would clean it up afterwards. Because lots of families, for the Sunday
Expectations,
leagues
sure.
or like a social event,
Yeah.
they clean it up. I mean, he was the best caretaker I've ever seen of a soccer field. He would call if it rained. He canceled a whole day. He's like, nope, we're not playing on the fields. We're not messing up the fields. But in the end, he was like, hey, Karen, we have to take our kids like 500 yards to get to the bathroom over at the baseball fields because there's no bathroom by the soccer fields. And so I said, I call up my parks director again. I go, how much would it cost to put some bathrooms out there? He goes, He also called it the commie sport, so that tells you how much he loves soccer. But he built a beautiful field, so he figured out how to get a one that you brought in on a crane. You just built the
Mm,
foundation and the
mm.
pipes and plumbing and everything, and then you just popped it down. And you're good to go. So he did that, and I said, "Well, we need to have a grand opening of this bathroom. I feel this is very appropriate." And I always used to drag all the department heads to things. I mean, anyone who's worked for me, no, they're going, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Karen used to take us. We had to, like one time I made them all simple shelves. We were moving the library. And, so I call it team building. They call it, unpaid work, but whatever.
Harassment,
So
sure.
I know. So we went out and we went out to the bathroom. We rolled toilet paper across all of us, and then we cut it. That was our ribbon cutting, our toilet paper cutting. And of course, he couldn't just stop there, so he named it the Daily Crapper, so
For
that
Karen Daly.
I would have my own toilets.
That's hilarious. That's a great story. That's great.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you've been in leadership for decades, and in that time, you've probably learned a lot about power. There's a visible, we'll call it professional power, which is usually based on titles and all of that, formal power, right? And then
Yes.
there's the invisible personal power. What did you learn about that watching people? Because I know you shifted once, you had your
Mhm.
daughter, but there is something in the day to day with the people that are working around you. And can you just speak to what you saw and your thoughts?
Yeah, for me, it has been, I mean, my love of serving the public, of serving everyone, it has always like, instilled in me this passion for that. And I find I need to use that for good, not evil, because I can fire up a group pretty loudly, and then all of a sudden, oh, wait, no, sorry, no, it's not time yet. So yeah, I think there's an intrinsic kind of a leadership, or it's in your DNA that you're going to go for it. And I've always found I could pretty much get anybody to go with me most of the time. I mean, there's very few times where someone went, I'm not doing that. You know,
Right.
so so yeah, so I think it's more of an intrinsic characteristic I have. But it's not forceful. It is more come with me. It is
Hmm.
much more of a community type of thing. It's not
Hmm.
a I'm doing this, who wants to go?
Yeah.
It's like, don't y'all think this is important? And don't you think this is what we should do?
Hmm.
And if someone disagrees, they can. I mean, that's fine, and we could talk about that too. But most of the time, it's like, yeah, that is a fair thing, and that's what we should, it's right. And so I always feel like if I'm doing the right thing, I can be as fearless as I want to be about it. And
Nice.
hopefully people just come along with, and, in my career, they did. And so I was very fortunate to always have wonderful groups of people to get to work with and learn from, and they learn from me, but I learn from them as well. I
I
leaned
hadn't
on their expertise.
I hadn't thought about this, but if you had to name your style of leadership, like a new name, if you had to give it a new name, because you were just alluding to it, do you have a
Yeah.
thought of what you'd call it?
Dang, Heidi, that's a hard question. Can we go to the next one,
Sorry.
please?
Okay, fine, fine. We'll just pass. You can
I
come
don't
back
know
to
what
that one
that
at the
is.
end.
I'm sure, I read lots of leadership stuff, but I've never found somebody that really nails what I feel and how I view myself as a leader. I've never seen a description that went, oh, yeah, that's it. So I need to invent one. But if you want to invent it, that's fine too.
Well, I
Yeah.
think I'm asking because the what you're talking about was resonating with me about my style.
Hmm.
And I just remember as a kid, my dad talked about, you can no one can ever take this thing away from you. And it's like, you know, because of course it's not a material good, it's an intrinsic value and it's integrity. And so when
Yeah.
you talk about doing the right thing, that's how I approach things. Like, I don't care how hard it is, it's the right thing to do. So
Mhm.
I was thinking, oh, I wonder if that could be called the right thing leadership. I don't know.
Yeah.
Integrity leadership, something like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
okay. So while we're talking about that come along attitude that you have, let's talk about you, the spark of, I know we did talk a little bit about when the TWLI, such a mouthful, Texas
It
Women's
is.
Leadership Institute was first formed, or maybe it was the Women in Government. You told me a little bit about that and it just cracked me up. So Spark, hello, Miss Spark. How did this all start? What was the impetus?
Well, so a couple of the male city managers who've been the state association presidents go, Karen, that thing you do, the women's issues. I'm not calling it that.
Okay.
But I know I'm like, oh, I have so far to go still.
So they were
But
inviting you in to do something about it.
They were fighting against me to do something
Oh,
about
gotcha,
it.
gotcha.
So when we started, we've always been separate from the City Management Association, basically because I realized this whole patriarchy, misogyny is, inherent in the population. So we kept ourselves very separate on purpose. Unlike a lot of the other women leading government chapters in the United States, ours is very separate from our state association.
Mhm.
And we did it on purpose. It was because I'd watched a lot of them through my work with ICMA. I got to see a lot of the chapters and help form chapters, but I knew the danger of Texas being too aligned with the state association. So we did it separately. We created all these chapters around the state, and I convinced people to be the president of those chapters. Texas is big. We have like 4 chapters. Now we have 5. And so, told people how to do it, helped them, shared with each other, brought them together and said, hey, what are you doing? Share your best practice. And in the meantime, I'm sitting there watching 1650 and
Right.
all the, and Oregon and Washington. I'm like, we have got to do this in Texas. We have got to set something up because there's nothing helping women learn how to navigate and lead and in city management,
Right.
especially in Texas, because
Right.
we don't have counties managers very many.
Right.
So I went on I went to France to watch World Cup and get my wine capital of the world stamp, and came back and said, "We're doing it. I'm not talking about this anymore. We're just going to do it." And they went, "Whoa!" So on my Resisterhood squad, they go, "What? We're just going to start it right now?" I'm like, "Yes, we're starting it right now. You're in charge. You're the president. You're this, and you're on the advisory board." And we did. And when we got 60 applicants for our 20 spots, they went, "Wow, whoa, we really need to do this." And I'm like, "Yes, we do. I've been telling y'all we need to do this."
Yeah.
So we started it just with my $500 that I put in a bank account, and
That's
and now we've
crazy.
graduated. We're in our 7th class, and so yeah, it's been a great process to
All right,
do,
so
and
go
to be part
back
of.
to the women who you tapped to be
Mhm.
part of this initiation. There were 4 or 5, and then you decided what to call. Can you talk a little bit more about the name,
Yeah,
the
well, the
nickname?
Resisterhood. We call it Resisterhood.
Yeah,
So,
Resisterhood, because they
yep.
were resisting. I just think
Hmm.
that's so clever. And then you said
Yeah.
you were trying to talk them into a different name. What was it?
Oh, Persisterhood.
I personally love that one even more. I love that
No, well,
persisterhood.
good luck. Good luck convincing my colleagues, my squad about that because they're stuck on Resisterhood. So,
Okay, well, I like the persisterhood. I was trying to think about it afterwards. I couldn't recall.
yeah.
So, um, what role did you end up taking? And right now you're still currently, were you always the executive director?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, I was working part-time for ICMA, so I had some capacity, and I definitely had the passion to do it. And so I said, I'll start it. And we'll see how it goes and we'll see how it works. I rely on other female city managers to host the classes. There's a lot of teamwork involved in it. It is a really great process. But through those years and have only selecting 20 of 60 applicants, and that has been consistent all 7 years, we realized we need to do something else. And so another stretch project was the alumni of the program are really, really fantastic. And they want to pay it forward. Sometimes they do that with scholarships for the next class. But this group decided, and the first class we had wanted to do a conference. They said, let's do a conference because we don't see ourselves at conferences. We don't get the information we need at conferences. And so we want to share what we've learned with everybody else. And so I'm like, yes, let's do it. And then COVID hit. And it's like, duh. So the steam ran out, and I wasn't willing to pick it up by myself. So I had to wait till there was enough momentum and enough candidates to run the conference. And so we put out a call and said, who wants to help? And it's being chaired by Caitlin Crobot, and she is with the Alpha class, the first class.
Mm.
And it is fantastic. It's got members of all the classes, and they are all doing their thing. And we're launching our first conference. We've got this great keynote called Heidi Fry. She's coming in to speak to us, and
What?
excited because it's a fresh voice and a new kind of new perspective that I think everyone's going to just love. But yeah, the whole idea of they can do it. They're very capable. And in fact, I've had two of them tell me this has been the best thing that's happened to me because I got in a rut in my job, and all of a sudden I'm realizing, oh, I have another place in a space I can get back and I can pay it forward. And that's what I want them to know is like you can make that space, you can
Yeah.
have that, and you can pay it forward. And so it's been I mean, I've loved watching them. All I do is sign checks and get people to do things that they haven't responded to yet. But for the most part, I mean, they're doing it all. And so it has been supercharging for me, and I know supercharging for a couple of them in their careers because it got them out of ruts that they
Well,
were
that's
in.
pretty cool. I didn't realize
Yeah.
it was the alumni. I just thought it was women in government around the
Mm-mm.
state.
No, it is
That's
the
pretty
graduates of the
incredible.
program.
So it's
Hmm.
a little elevated in that regard. Well, I will say
Yes.
this, just an aside comment. The women that I met with online, yourself included,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, I was so excited when I hung up. I was like, I can't wait to go to Texas. So
Yeah.
I'm really
Yeah.
looking forward to it. Caitlin, Leslie, Ashley,
Hmm.
really top notch.
Hmm.
So cool.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about resilience. What setbacks or humbling experiences have you endured through your career in public service?
Um, Two things. The first one is, I think, definitely more personal for me, is both times I was a city manager, I lost an employee. They died on the in the line of duty.
Oh,
And and I think for me that was in fact, I wrote an article because it was like, it was something no one prepares you for. It was terrible. And why would you talk about that with anybody? I mean, it's a horrible, horrible experience.
well, the normal
Um,
person doesn't have to even anticipate that.
yeah, no, no, you never want to, but
No.
and the reality is, especially for larger city managers in larger cities, not big city managers,
Yeah.
but we do call them big city managers, that they're going to experience it. I was in very small cities at the time and had that happen, and I just it is again, it's something you don't get prepared for,
Yeah.
and so you're dealing with the family of your employee. You're dealing with the employee's coworkers. You're dealing with the organization because, again, I was in small cities. Everybody knew these people. You're
Mhm.
dealing with the public. You're dealing with your counsel who's like, I need to know everything. And I'm like, I'm trying to get to the wife. I am trying to get to the hospital. I am trying. So all of those things. And in the case of the last one, I was dealing with the media was like all over me. So, because that was a police officer. And so, I don't know. I kind of did it the same way Holly Hunter did, and what was it called? Something news. I would go in my car and cry, and I would wake up in the morning and I would cry my head off, and then I would take a shower and go to work. Yeah, and I did that for like 10 days of just pure out bawling my head off for 10 minutes and then getting it together so I could like be there for his family, the workforce, the organization.
Yeah.
And then, just navigating everything. I mean, sitting down and helping the spouse with the paperwork that they have to file afterwards. So, all those things kind of like you figure out where you are and then what you need to be doing. And, but, I'd have friends go, "Are you okay?" And I went, "No, not really right now, but I have to be here." And then, I guess, you figure it out. You figure out what you
Yeah.
need to do.
Yeah.
And I needed to go play soccer. I pity the people I played against during those days, but I needed some
Yeah,
soccer.
that was probably such a stress release at that
hmm
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and so that's kind of from a resilience, like personally, how do you get through that, and then how do you help your organization show resilience? I love I love disasters because they bring out the best in every city employee. I swear, it
Yeah.
is like the weirdest thing in the world to watch everyone just shine and do everything that's needed to be done without even asking questions. I mean, and I feel like that resilience in them always buoys me to keep going and do the things I needed to do. The employees did just fantastic things to support the family, and it was just the most amazing thing. So those things just feed into me and give
Mhm.
me whatever energy I need to kind of keep going.
I love that
Um,
perspective.
yeah,
I'm a big fan of reframing, and that's a
yeah.
reframing statement there. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I
That's
know
really
everyone's like,
great.
don't say disaster, Karen. I'm like, I'm saying disaster because that's what it is usually. Even if it's an ice storm or, whatever it was, you just see the best come out in people. I love it. I love the ingenuity, the willingness to serve, the willingness to get it done and help. It's like firefighters at a
Mhm.
fire. You've never seen a more energized group of people than when they're getting to do what they've been trained to do.
Yeah.
And so it's a really lovely thing to watch and get to be a part of.
You know what? We were talking about the formal versus informal leadership or authentic versus survival, right? That just how
hmm
different leadership styles show up. And I wonder if in that disaster moment, people end up, and in my terminology, operating from their core. Like they're their true selves because they're just diving in. They're not out here with their egos. They are all in, all
hmm
doing the thing. And that does sound lovely.
It is, and it's a focus. They're
Yeah.
allowed to focus on this. They're not having to navigate this demand and that demand. It's like we're all hands getting this done, getting this
Yeah.
addressed.
Yeah.
And it's great. And again, I mean, I came home late one night after a soccer game, so I was sweaty and gross. I'm driving home and I see the movie theater on fire. And so I stop because I'm like, oh, the guys are working and fighting fire. So I walk up and they're like, I'm sorry, you can't come near. Oh, Miss Daly. Oh, sorry. And they're like, what are you doing? I said, I just finished a soccer game. I'm coming home. And they're like, oh, I said, I just want to see your work. I want to see what you do.
Yeah.
And they were, I mean, again, the energy, the focus, the ability to like, I don't have to deal with other stuff or
Yeah.
whatever else is going on. I'm going to get this done. And it is so fun to watch,
Cool.
so
Well,
yeah.
thank you. That's really, I love the perspective. It's great. So, looking over the arc of your career is what's, I guess, been the biggest surprise for you?
That I can't hold on to a city manager's job.
Okay, so tell the listeners what the behind the scenes message to that is.
Yeah, it goes back to what we were talking about with integrity,
Mm.
Heidi. I hired under one council, and like 2 years later, they're not there anymore. And the new council wants to do things just not the way I was hired to work.
Hmm.
And I am not flexible at that point. So I choose to go.
Mm.
And I do it in ways that, protect me, hopefully protect some of the employees. My last job, I was
Yeah.
not successful doing that. But, you hire people and they're hired because they like the way, you work and you want to work with them. And then all of a sudden they get a new boss, and that's not good for a lot of them. So there's a sense of like, oh man, but I try, and then I
Mm.
watch how angst they are at the way the council was treating me, and they're like, oh my gosh, are you going to get fired tonight? And I'm like, I'm not really going to get fired. I'm going to end my employment here, but I'm not going to get fired.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Ah,
Well,
but yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
But it's always the fact that, I could go work somewhere else, but I don't choose to work with people that don't have the same integrity and the core of fairness that I think is very important to have.
Amen.
So,
I like it.
yeah.
All right. So then what would be three, and I did this myself, by the way, three adjectives to describe your career?
Ooh, man. Really? I mean, these are tough questions. I thought we were just going to chat.
I'm sorry. I want, I thought this is a woman that is like, she is known in this community around the country. I thought I've got to hit her with some like good questions, right?
Okay, what was the question again? And then I'll
Three
ask.
adjectives to describe your career. And if you just want to pass, I'll tell you mine, but not until well, yeah, there you go.
Okay, so one is fearless because I've
Mm.
stepped into the places I've probably people were like, "What is she
Yep.
doing?" So fearless. Hopefully, integrity that
Mm.
I've had. I've always displayed integrity in what I do and how I treat people. Um, and then passion.
Mm.
I have always loved the fact that I love the work I've done,
Yeah.
and I hope that shows in what I do. But I am pretty passionate about whatever role I'm stepping into, even if it's
Well,
doing people's taxes.
pardon me?
Even if it's doing people's taxes,
Yeah, there you
as a
go. There you
volunteer.
go.
I'm passionate about that.
Well, your answers are the qualities about you and your leadership, which I love because then I came at it from what's the overarching career. And my adjectives were trailblazing, influential, and transformative.
Ooh, those are good. I
I
like
know. So
those. And
I put,
appropriate too.
pardon me?
And appropriate.
Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. So if you could sit down with your younger self on her first day as city manager, what leadership truth that probably honestly took you years to learn would you share with her? What's the shortcut version that you would share with her?
Oh, for me, I think it is show people who you are so that they can connect with you.
Mm.
Because I truly believe, those connections and creating community, whether it's with your current team, your organization, or the community, or the council, it's like let them see who you are. Because, and that goes back to that authentic thing, which is so hard to do when you're just trying to not screw up and not mess up and not say one thing wrong in your interview. It is really tough, but I think it is the thing that pays dividends to the career and to your organization
Hmm.
when you let them see who you are, and let them connect with you.
And see all of you, right?
Yeah,
Well, okay,
yeah.
maybe all of you isn't the right word.
No, yeah.
Yeah, let's keep some things under wraps. So I don't know. Do you want to? Because I was chuckling as I was thinking about us talking. I love the fact that you play soccer, and I love that competitiveness sits alongside your being a go-getter and a driver. And how does what is it about soccer that feeds your soul? Because there's something about it that does.
Yeah, I think, running 3 to 5 miles an hour and a half, which I wouldn't do it if I weren't chasing a ball or a person. So, but it's the teamwork I think that I really like. You can have a really slow person and a really great person, and you watch how the great person helps you rise and
Mm.
helps you be a better player, and then how you have to be a better player for the person who may not be as experienced or whatever. So I think it's the whole teamwork. And I truly believe that a lot of women who didn't get the advantage of playing sports when they were younger have a harder time navigating in a large organization, displaying their own leadership. Because I think when you get to do that as a younger girl, you really get to show and you get to learn what it feels like inside. So you know what it is and you know how to do it and you know you have done it. And if people are stepping up to lead a team for the first time and have never been on a team, that's tough. I can't imagine what that would be like. But I think some people struggle because they didn't get to play a team sport or something that involved relying on other people because can't do it alone. You've got to rely on other people.
Right.
So yeah, I think I always view it as teamwork.
Well, the example that you just gave, I've never heard anyone talk about exactly that, give that description because it's a perfect metaphor for leadership
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
that's what it's all
Yeah,
about, right?
yeah, it is. It
So
is.
I guess lastly, I'm just any other thoughts or any other activities feeding your soul or, do you have any, I don't know, anything else that you want to say? Share with especially the ladies in government, right?
Yes. No, I guess the one thing that I have spent probably the last 3 or 4 years telling a lot of the class members in the Women's Leadership Institute is they'll go, "Ooh, this job's out there. They just opened this job and it looks really great, but I don't think I qualify." And I always tell them, I said, that's not your job. Your job is to apply. Their job is to tell you you don't qualify. Do not ever say you don't qualify. Put in for it. Make sure you do it because it is the place, it's their job. My first job, I didn't actually meet the minimum requirements and I got the job. And that was the one out of 100. I was the only woman in it.
How amazing.
So you just never know. But again, I decided to let them tell me I wasn't qualified. I wasn't going to do that. So,
That is very smart advice. And in 1650, we have a segment of the habits that keep women stuck. And not being 100% qualified is one of the
yes.
habits that keeps women stuck. And when you look at gender dynamics, it kind of plays out. And so it's just really fascinating. So great advice. All right. Well, what's next for you? And then let's wrap it up.
Yeah, well, I head to Ireland. It's not on my wine capital of the world tour, but headed to Ireland and Scotland at the end of this week, and then I head to. I've only got one wine capital left of my wine capitals. My hashtag life goals. It's South Africa, so I'm trying to get that fit in this year so I can go to South Africa and drink their wine. So.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm curious, what's your favorite so far?
Ooh, I tend to go with Bordeaux in
Mm.
France.
Mhm.
I do tend to like theirs, but as I say, I'm an equal opportunity wine drinker, so I like to try everything. And
Terrific.
so it's been fun, but yeah, I got to do Portugal last year, and so check that one off my box. And so we'll see if I get to go to South Africa.
Well, Karen Daly, I love your energy. The first time we met, I was just like, wow, this woman is a force. And by the way, I was talking to someone in Colorado. She didn't know that we knew each other. And she
Hmm.
said, or had met recently. And she says, yeah, we're talking to, a woman about coming in to talk to Colorado. Her name is Karen Daly. And I didn't say anything. And she said, she's a big freaking deal. And I said, I know, I've met her. And she was like, you know her? And I swear I got points just for knowing you. So,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So you are revered and loved and beloved and, a powerhouse. And it's just really, really great to see how you've put your fingers on so many things and have really impacted women and well deserved of the ICMA award for sure. for
Thank
sure.
you. Thank you. I'm always energized by connections. And so I'm lucky I get to do that. So
Yeah. Wonderful. All right,
absolutely.
Karen, thank you so much. And I don't know, can people reach you if they have any questions?
Yeah. LinkedIn. I think I'm, pretty out there on LinkedIn. So that's
Okay,
a great
cool.
place to connect with me and easy to
Karen
do.
Daly, Daly.
Yeah. Thanks, Heidi.
All right, take care. It was great chatting with you.
Yes.
Hello and welcome back. I think Karen kind of said it all. I probably don't need to do much of a wrap up other than to say I was right. She has phenomenal energy and it was so fun to talk to her. I just loved it when we first opened up and you could see like her energy and her vibrancy just leap out of her skin. So that was very fun. Thank you again, Karen, for the time. So, a couple things I want to say. The big messages are about Mother Bear and about trusting yourself. So let's go Mother Bear first. So when Emma was born, Karen's Mama Bear was triggered and not created, but really triggered. And I just want to say, even if you're not a mother, there are so many of you out there that understand this feeling, especially those in local government, because you are working for and have a voice for the community, members of your team, and service is your passion, desire, and probably commitment. So I challenge you to channel the Mama Bear versus listening to your self-talk. Self-talk, you all know it, self-talk is not very positive. And your driver, instead of the self-talk and those limiting beliefs, could be that inner Mama Bear to do good. So I challenge you to channel that. The second one, what did I just say it was? It was trusting your intuition. I find many leaders, and especially women in government, who put aside their intuition and they instead listen to their self-talk. And we all know the self-talk is not very positive. It's based on limiting beliefs, and it's also based on a lot of junk in your backpack. So I encourage you, as you go about life and career, as you are approaching decisions, think what your intuition is, and then whatever it is that you end up doing, validate afterwards. Like, oh, was my intuition to do it and it turned out well? Okay, yay, win for me. Was my intuition not to do it and it didn't turn out well? I didn't listen to my intuition. Again, keep validating your intuition so that you lean into it and listen to it more and more. I do have one other thing. Karen talked about, advocating for yourself in that you're not necessarily going to be 100% qualified. That is a big thing with women. Do not wait until you're perfect. She didn't wait till she was perfect, and yet she was 1 out of 100 leaders that were in the interview pool, and she was the only female, and she got the job. I see it time and time again. Do not wait to be 100% qualified. I have a recruiting background, and my rule was if you're like 75% or 80% qualified, then I want to talk to you. I actually don't want to talk to you if you're 100% qualified, because then you're not going to be motivated to learn and stretch yourself on the job. So there's a perspective. All that to say, I wish you well going forward. I hope you enjoyed the conversation and have a great rest of the day. Thanks. You have been listening to the Charging Up Leadership podcast, and I am your host, Heidi Fry, charged up, plugged in, and sending you energy, light, and love. Find me at HeidiFry.com. And don't forget to check out my book, The Light Switch, available on Amazon, in your local bookstores, or on my website. The Charging Up Leadership podcast is created, hosted, and produced by Heidi Fry. theme music is by Yevchen Anoychenko from Pixabay.